They say you can't truly know America until you've traveled Route 66. This wasn't just a road, it was the nation's heartbeat, stretching from Chicago to Los Angeles and carrying with it the dreams of a generation. In the 1950s, neon diners lined its shoulders like beacons, serving burgers that dripped with cheese, milkshakes tall enough to share, and pies that made the miles disappear. But Route 66 was more than food. It connected small towns, fueled local businesses, and tied America's sprawl together. When the highway thrived, families built diners and motels. When it was bypassed, whole communities faded. The 25 dishes we're about to uncover aren't just recipes, they're the flavors of that highway's soul. Stick around, because number 25 will forever change how you see a diner. 1. Chicken fried steak with country gravy and mashed potatoes. Pull off Route 66 in the 1950s, and chances are the first thing that hit your nose was the smell of chicken fried steak sizzling on the griddle. Now, this wasn't chicken at all. It was a tenderized beef cutlet, battered like fried chicken, fried golden crisp, and smothered in silky white country gravy. Piled high with creamy mashed potatoes and maybe a side of buttered corn, it was comfort food at its best. Truckers loved it because it stuck to your ribs. Families ordered it because it fed everyone without breaking the bank. And late-night travelers? They swore the gravy alone could cure a week's worth of road fatigue. Back in the 50s, this whole plate might have cost you just $1.25. Today, a diner version can set you back $15 to $18, proof that some comforts never go out of style, even if the price has. And just wait until you see what came with a hamburger deluxe, because Route 66 didn't play around with burgers either. 2. Hamburger deluxe with fries and milkshake. No meal screams. Route 66 diner louder than the hamburger deluxe. Picture it. A thick beef patty sizzling on the flat top, juices hissing as the cook pressed it down with a spatula. A toasted bun cradled the burger, stacked with crisp lettuce, juicy tomato, onions, and a tangy pickle. The deluxe meant it came with golden fries on the side, and of course, a tall milkshake that could practically stand on its own. For teenagers in the 50s, this was more than dinner. It was rebellion in a red basket. Dates were sealed over shared fries, jukebox songs became sweeter with each sip of vanilla or chocolate shake, and diners turned into the social heartbeat of small-town America. Truckers, too, knew the burger and shake combo was the fastest way to happiness. In the 1950s, the whole plate might have run you just $1.10. Today, you're closer to $15. But some things haven't changed. One bite of that classic diner burger still tastes like freedom on the open road. 3. Steak and eggs. Breakfast plate with hash browns and toast. On Route 66, mornings belonged to the steak and eggs plate. Truckers pulling in at dawn knew exactly what to order: a sizzling cut of steak, seared hot on the griddle, paired with 2 eggs just the way you liked them, scrambled, sunny side, or fried in bacon grease if the cook was generous. Add a heap of golden hash browns, crisp on the edges and soft in the middle, with buttered toast stacked on the side. This wasn't breakfast. It was fuel for the long stretch of road ahead. The beauty was in its simplicity. Diners didn't fuss over fancy cuts. Sometimes it was sirloin, sometimes T-bone, but always hearty. Truck drivers swore this meal could carry them 300 miles before the next stop. Families, too, saw it as a special treat, a way to start their vacation mornings with a little luxury. In the 1950s, a steak and eggs plate might set you back $1.75. Today, it's a $20 classic. Still, it remains the kind of breakfast that makes you feel like a king of the open road. 4. Fried chicken dinner with coleslaw and cornbread. If you pulled into a Route 66 diner on a Sunday evening, chances are you smelled fried chicken before you even parked. Diners prided themselves on this dish: chicken pieces dredged in flour, seasoned with salt and pepper, then fried golden brown in bubbling oil until the crust crackled and the meat inside stayed juicy. On the plate, you'd find a scoop of creamy coleslaw, shredded cabbage and carrots in tangy dressing, and a wedge of warm cornbread with a pat of butter melting on top. For families traveling the highway, this meal felt like home. Moms loved it because it fed everyone, dads loved it because it was hearty, and kids couldn't resist grabbing drumsticks with their fingers. It was a sit-down kind of dinner, the kind that slowed you down from the road and reminded you of backyard picnics and Sunday suppers. In the 50s, the whole meal cost about $1.35. Today, it's closer to $16 to $18, but fried chicken with slaw and cornbread is still one of America's favorite comfort feasts. 5. Meatloaf with gravy, green beans, and buttered roll. Few dishes felt more like home on the highway than a thick slice of diner meatloaf. On Route 66 in the 1950s, it was the blue-collar favorite. Ground beef mixed with breadcrumbs, onions, maybe a splash of ketchup, baked until the edges caramelized. Sliced thick, it was served smothered in brown gravy, with tender green beans on the side and a warm buttered roll to soak up every drop. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, reliable, just like the folks who ordered it. Truckers called it Mom's Cooking on the Road. Families knew it would fill every stomach without draining the wallet, and late-night travelers found the gravy a kind of medicine for road-weary souls. At just 95 cents to $1.10 in the 50s, it was one of the best bargains on the menu. Today, you'll pay $14 or more for the same comfort. But the magic hasn't changed. Meatloaf with gravy is still America's hug on a plate. 6. Fish and chips with tartar sauce and lemon wedge. Not every stop along Route 66 meant steak or burgers. Sometimes the craving was for something crispy and golden from the fryer. Enter the classic diner fish and chips. In the 1950s, diners would drop thick fillets of cod or haddock into hot oil until the batter bubbled up into a crunchy, golden shell. Piled high next to a mound of fries, it was served with a lemon wedge for a squeeze of brightness and a dollop of creamy tartar sauce on the side. Travelers loved it because it felt a little fancier than a burger, yet still affordable. Parents appreciated it as a hearty option for the whole family, while kids dunked fries and fish alike into that tangy tartar. In small-town diners, this plate made you feel like you were eating seaside, even if you were 1,000 miles from the ocean. Back then, the dish ran about $1.25. Today it's closer to $15 to $18, but nothing beats the crunch of hot fish and fries at a roadside booth. 7. Tomato soup and grilled cheese combo. Sometimes the simplest meals on Route 66 were the ones that hit the deepest. The tomato soup and grilled cheese combo was every traveler's childhood on a plate. Diners would ladle out steaming bowls of tomato soup, rich, tangy, sometimes with a swirl of cream. Then pair it with a golden grilled cheese sandwich. Thick slices of bread, buttered to a crisp, hid a layer of gooey melted American cheese that stretched with every bite. For families on the road, this was a comfort stop. It was cheap, warm, and guaranteed that even picky kids would clean their plates. Truckers loved it because it was light but satisfying, a break from heavy steak or fried foods. And late-night wanderers swore nothing cured road chill like dunking half a sandwich into hot tomato soup. In the 1950s, this combo cost about 65 cents. Today, it's closer to $10 to $12, but one bite still feels like sitting in your mom's kitchen, safe from the world outside. 8. Blue Plate. Special, roast beef, mashed potatoes, and peas. If Route 66 had a signature diner deal, it was the famous Blue Plate Special. And more often than not, that plate carried slices of tender roast beef. Diners carved it thin, laid it across a scoop of mashed potatoes, and covered it all in brown gravy that ran across the plate like a river. A side of buttered peas finished the trio, making it a full, hearty meal without the fuss. The magic was in the name. Blue Plate specials were always affordable, always filling, and changed day by day. Travelers loved the surprise, locals loved the value, and truckers loved the fact it got them back on the road, satisfied without breaking the wallet. For many, it was the best deal on the menu. In the 1950s, a roast beef blue plate might cost you 85 cents. Today, expect $14 to $16, but the spirit remains the same. No frills, no extras, just honest food served with a smile. 9. Pancakes stacked with maple syrup and sausage links. Nothing said diner breakfast on Route 66 quite like a tall stack of pancakes. Fluffy, golden rounds came stacked 3 or 4 high, steam rising as the waitress slid the plate onto your table. A pat of butter slowly melted down the sides, while warm maple syrup, sometimes the real stuff, sometimes just sweet diner syrup, was poured until it pooled at the bottom. To balance all that sweetness, a couple of sizzling sausage links sat right beside, adding that savory kick. For travelers, pancakes were a way to start the morning with comfort and abundance. Kids loved the ritual of drowning their stack in syrup, while adults found the mix of sweet and savory gave them the energy to push another 100 miles down the road. And for truckers, it was an easy classic, filling, cheap, and always satisfying. In the 1950s, this breakfast cost about 75 cents. Today, it's closer to $12 to $14, but one bite still tastes like a warm morning in a red vinyl booth on America's most famous highway. 10. Patty melt on rye with onion rings. If the hamburger was king of the diner, the patty melt was its cooler cousin. Born in the heat of sizzling griddles along Route 66, this sandwich took a juicy beef patty, layered it with melted Swiss or American cheese, and tucked it between slices of buttered rye bread. Grilled until the bread turned golden and crisp, the patty melt delivered that perfect crunch on the outside with a gooey, savory center. But the real showstopper was what came on the side, towering onion rings, battered and fried until they crackled with every bite. Truckers loved it because it was hearty without being messy, while teenagers saw it as the ideal meal to split on a date, passing onion rings back and forth with a grin. In the 1950s, the patty melt and onion ring combo cost just about $1. Today, you'll easily spend $14 to $16, but every bite still carries the smoky, buttery, irresistible flavor of diner history. 11. Sloppy Joe sandwich with pickle spear and fries. Few diner meals lived up to their name quite like the Sloppy Joe. Along Route 66, this sandwich was a messy badge of honor. Ground beef simmered in tangy tomato sauce, sweetened with a touch of brown sugar and spiced just enough to keep things interesting. Piled high onto a soft bun, it oozed with every bite, sauce dripping down your fingers faster than you could keep up. And diners leaned into it. This was food meant to be enjoyed, not daintily eaten. Beside it, a crisp pickle spear and a basket of golden fries made the plate complete. Kids loved it because it was fun and different, parents appreciated its price, and truckers knew it would stick to their ribs long after leaving the diner booth. In the 1950s, you could snag a Sloppy Joe plate for about 70 cents. Today, you'll shell out closer to $12 to $14, but it still delivers that same messy joy, proof that sometimes the best meals are the ones that don't play neat. 12. Chicken pot pie with golden crust and mixed vegetables. When the road felt long and the nights turned cool, nothing warmed travelers like a steaming chicken pot pie. Diners along Route 66 baked them fresh each day, chunks of chicken, carrots, peas, and potatoes swimming in a creamy gravy, all tucked under a golden, flaky crust that cracked open with the first spoonful. Steam rose out, carrying that rich, home-cooked aroma that made even the most weary driver feel like they'd found a second kitchen. This dish wasn't just food, it was comfort in disguise. Families on vacation ordered it to slow down the rush of the highway. Truckers loved how it filled them up without being greasy, a rare treat between stretches of fried fare. And for kids, breaking through that buttery crust felt like opening a treasure chest, each bite uncovering something hearty and good. In the 1950s, a pot pie plate might cost just $1. Today, it's closer to $15, but the feeling it delivers, warmth, comfort, and a taste of home, hasn't changed one bit. 13. Roast pork dinner with applesauce and buttered corn. If you wanted Sunday dinner any day of the week, diners along Route 66 had you covered with a roast pork plate. Thick slices of roasted pork, tender and juicy, were laid out with a side of sweet apple sauce, a pairing that felt both old-fashioned and timeless. Beside it came buttered corn, its golden kernels glistening under a pat of melting butter, and often a soft roll to mop up the juices. This meal spoke of tradition. Families ordered it because it tasted like home cooking, the kind you'd expect at Grandma's table. Truckers, often far from their families, found comfort in its familiar flavors. And vacationers, after hours of dusty highway driving, saw it as a reward, something warm, hearty, and just a little sweet. Back in the 1950s, a roast pork dinner cost about $1.25. Today, you'll spend closer to $16 to $18. Still, one bite of pork with applesauce takes you right back to a booth on America's most iconic road. 14. Strawberry shortcake with fresh whipped cream. After miles of dusty road, few desserts could brighten the day like strawberry shortcake. Diners along Route 66 made it simple but unforgettable. A buttery biscuit split in half, layered with fresh strawberries dripping in syrup, then crowned with a mountain of real whipped cream. Sometimes it came in a tall parfait glass, other times piled high on a plate, but no matter how it was served, it felt like a celebration. Families ordered it to treat the kids, but often Mom and Dad stole the last bite. Truckers swore it was the best way to chase down a heavy dinner, and couples on dates shared it with 2 spoons, smiling across red vinyl booths. It wasn't just dessert, it was a sweet pause in the middle of a long journey. In the 1950s, a strawberry shortcake cost about 50 cents. Today, it's closer to $8 to $10. But the flavor, bright, creamy, and nostalgic, still tastes like pure diner happiness. 15. Cherry pie a la mode with coffee. No Route 66 diner was complete without a cherry pie sitting proudly in the glass case by the register. Baked fresh each morning, its flaky crust bubbled with tart cherries, their red juices peeking through the golden lattice top. Order a slice and the waitress would warm it up just enough before adding a scoop of vanilla ice cream on the side, the a la mode touch that turned it into pure Americana. Of course, it came with a steaming cup of black coffee poured endlessly from a glass pot that never seemed to run dry. For truckers, this combo was the perfect pick-me-up. For families, it was a treat that felt like the grand finale to a long day's drive. And, for teenagers on dates, cherry pie a la mode was the sweetest excuse to linger a little longer in the booth. In the 1950s, this duo cost about 45 cents. Today, closer to $7 to $9. But that first bite still tastes like freedom, neon lights, and the open road. 16. Thick chocolate milkshake and malted vanilla shake combo. If Route 66 had a soundtrack, it would have been the clinking of tall milkshake glasses. Diners made them the old-fashioned way, scoops of ice cream spun in a metal cup, blended thick enough that the straw barely worked. Chocolate shakes came rich and creamy, while malted vanilla added that nutty, old-school flavor that made you feel like a kid again. Most diners poured the shake into a tall glass and left the mixing tin beside it, so you always got a little extra. For teenagers, milkshakes were date-night currency. 2 straws in one glass meant something was official. Families loved them as a special treat, while truckers grabbed one for the road when coffee just wasn't enough. And let's be honest, nothing paired better with a greasy burger and fries than a frosty shake. In the 1950s, a shake ran you about 35 cents. Today, you'll spend $6 to $8, but that first icy sip still brings back jukebox songs and neon diner lights glowing against the highway. 17. Ham steak with fried potatoes and fried egg. For many travelers, breakfast on Route 66 meant one thing: a thick slice of ham steak sizzling on the griddle. Diners cut it hearty, browned it just enough to bring out that smoky flavor, and served it with a pile of fried potatoes, crispy on the edges, soft inside. And to top it all off, a fried egg, yolk running across the plate, ready to mix with every bite. It was simple, salty, and satisfying, the kind of plate that carried a trucker through hours of open road. Families ordered it as a shareable breakfast, while solo travelers found comfort in its no-nonsense heartiness. The smell alone, ham frying in butter, potatoes hissing on the griddle, was enough to pull you off the highway into the nearest neon-lit diner. In the 1950s, this plate cost about $1.10. Today, you'll pay closer to $14 to $16, but it still feels like a working man's breakfast, hot, filling, and made for life on the move. 18. T-bone steak dinner with sautéed mushrooms and buttered rolls. If there was one dish that made diners feel downright fancy on Route 66, it was the T-bone steak dinner. Picture it. A sizzling steak brought straight from the griddle, juices bubbling at the edges, with tender mushrooms sautéed in butter spooned right over the top. Add a couple of warm rolls on the side, soft, golden, and brushed with butter, and you had a meal that could turn a roadside stop into a celebration. Travelers saved this one for special nights. Truckers ordered it after a long haul as a reward, while families saw it as the splurge of their trip. Diners knew how to cook it right, hot, quick, and hearty enough to satisfy anyone who walked through the door. It wasn't just dinner. It was proof that even out on the highway, you could sit down to something worthy of a white tablecloth restaurant. In the 1950s, a T-bone steak plate cost about $2.25. Today, it's closer to $25 to $30, but it still tastes like roadside luxury. Grilled cheese and tomato soup with bacon bits. If the classic grilled cheese and tomato soup was comfort food, adding bacon bits turned it into a diner masterpiece. On Route 66, this combo was cheap, filling, and loved by just about everyone. The sandwich came buttered golden on the outside, gooey with melted cheese inside, cut into triangles for easy dunking. The tomato soup, steaming hot, carried that rich tang, but the bacon bits, sprinkled on top, gave it a smoky, salty crunch that made each spoonful feel special. For kids, it was a playful meal, half food, half game, dipping each sandwich piece into the soup. Truckers liked it as a lighter plate before heading back on the road, while couples split it over endless cups of coffee, savoring every bite. In the 1950s, this combo cost around 60 cents. Today, it's closer to $10 to $12, but nothing matches the way it feels to sip hot soup, bite into a crisp sandwich, and know you've found comfort in a roadside booth. 20. Chili bowl with beans and sour cream, served with cornbread. When the nights along Route 66 turned chilly, nothing warmed the bones like a steaming bowl of diner chili. Made with ground beef, beans, onions, and just enough spice to give it a kick, this was the kind of dish that stuck with you long after the last spoonful. Diners topped it with a dollop of sour cream, sometimes shredded cheese if you were lucky, and served it with a square of cornbread on the side, golden brown with a crusty edge and soft, buttery middle. Truckers swore chili was the best road fuel, hearty, hot, and packed with flavor. Families loved it because it was cheap, filling, and perfect for sharing. And for late-night travelers, the smell alone, beef simmering in spices, cornbread fresh from the oven, was enough to pull them inside from the neon glow of the highway. In the 1950s, a chili bowl ran about 75 cents. Today, it's $10 to $14, but that first bite still feels like fire, comfort, and home, right there on America's Main Street. 21. Fried catfish with hush puppies and slaw. Not every diner along Route 66 sat in the desert. Many hugged rivers, lakes, and streams. And when catfish was on the menu, locals and travelers alike knew they were in for something special. Fillets of catfish were dredged in seasoned cornmeal, fried golden until crisp outside and flaky inside. On the plate came hush puppies, little cornmeal fritters, fried up crunchy with soft, steamy centers, and a side of creamy coleslaw to cool things down. This was Southern comfort served roadside. Truckers loved it because it was hearty but not heavy like steak. Families ordered it to taste something regional, and locals took pride in knowing their diner served fish that reminded them of home waters. Kids, of course, fought over who got the last hush puppy. Back in the 1950s, this plate cost around $1.25. Today, it'll run closer to $17 to $20, but fried catfish with hush puppies and slaw still carries that down-home flavor, a taste of small-town America tucked right into a diner booth. 22. French toast with berry compote and bacon crumbles. Breakfast on Route 66 didn't always mean pancakes. Sometimes it was thick slices of bread dipped in egg batter, fried golden on the griddle, and dusted with powdered sugar. French toast, diner style. But in the 1950s, many diners gave it a special touch. A spoonful of berry compote, usually strawberries or blueberries, simmered down into a sweet, tangy sauce. To balance all that sweetness, a sprinkle of crumbled bacon across the top added a smoky, salty bite that kept you coming back for forkful after forkful. For families, it was a treat for the kids, though Dad often stole a bite. Truckers enjoyed it as a change of pace from heavy steak and eggs, while couples on the road split an order with endless cups of coffee. And let's be honest, few things looked better on a red vinyl booth table than a plate piled high with golden toast and berries. In the 1950s, this meal cost around 85 cents. Today, it's $12 to $14, but it still tastes like morning sunshine on the open road. 23. Bacon and eggs, breakfast special. If there was a single plate that defined the American diner, this was it, the bacon and eggs special. 2 eggs cooked any way you liked. Fried sunny side, scrambled fluffy, or over easy, laid beside strips of sizzling bacon, crisped just enough to snap, but still tender at the bite. Add a heap of golden hash browns, fried flat on the griddle until the edges were crunchy, and a couple of slices of buttered toast ready for dipping. Simple, cheap, and filling. It was the heartbeat of Route 66 mornings. Truckers loved it because they could count on it at every stop. Families ordered it knowing everyone would eat without complaint. And solo travelers found comfort in its familiarity. No matter how far from home, bacon and eggs always tasted the same. In the 1950s, this breakfast cost about 65 cents. Today, you'll pay closer to $10 to $12. Still, it remains the diner's most timeless plate, the kind of meal that never goes out of style. 24. Blueberry muffin pancakes with butter and warm syrup. Every diner along Route 66 had pancakes, but some went the extra mile and turned them into blueberry muffin pancakes. Imagine a tall stack, fluffy cakes speckled with juicy blueberries that popped with sweetness in every bite. Some cooks even folded in a bit of muffin batter for that extra soft, crumbly texture, making each forkful taste like breakfast and dessert all at once. A pat of butter melted slowly down the sides while warm syrup was poured until it soaked into the stack. Families adored it because kids devoured every bite without fuss. Truckers, usually meat and potato men, sometimes treated themselves to these fruity stacks when the road felt long, and couples on vacation swore blueberry pancakes made mornings feel like celebrations. In the 1950s, a plate cost about 85 cents. Today, it's closer to $13 to $15, but one bite still tastes like diner joy, sweet, warm, and just a little indulgent, the kind of breakfast worth slowing down for. 25. Apple cobbler a la mode with whipped cream. To end a long day on Route 66, nothing beat a bubbling hot apple cobbler straight from a diner oven. Thick slices of tart apples were baked with cinnamon and sugar, tucked beneath a golden, crumbly crust that smelled like autumn in every bite. The waitress would bring it out warm, a scoop of vanilla ice cream melting slowly over the top, and just for good measure, a swirl of whipped cream to crown the whole thing. Travelers swore by it as the ultimate comfort dessert. Truckers paired it with hot coffee to push through the night. Route 66 wasn't just pavement, it was a promise. A ribbon of road that carried dreamers, families, truckers, and wanderers westward, all chasing freedom, opportunity, or maybe just the next great meal. Diners along the Mother Road were more than pit stops. They were America's kitchen table. Every burger, every slice of pie, every plate of bacon and eggs told the story of a nation on the move. And here's what makes it magical. These dishes weren't fancy. They were simple, affordable, and served with a smile. Yet decades later, we still crave them. Because food isn't just about filling our stomachs. It's about memories, tradition, and the comfort of knowing that somewhere out there, a red vinyl booth and a hot plate of diner food are waiting for you.